All right, here we are. We are back for the Fantasy Football Expo podcast live. We are here with the man, Mr. Howard Bender from Fantasy Alarm. How are you doing today, Mr. Howard? There's so much that we're going to talk about today. There's so much. We're going to talk about the expo, the experience. We're going to take questions live from the audience. If you are watching this on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or do you call it X now? Whatever it is, post a question. We are going to tackle them. But, first and foremost, I'm Nathan Cheatham. I am here to help push this thing forward. We have Bob Long to my side, and this time I'm not stuck between two Bobs. Mr. Howard Bender of Fantasy Alarm. How are you? It's still light out there. You're in the, what is it, the Arctic Circle now, right?
No, not yet. Not yet. Close
Okay.
though. We're getting there. Like we're trying to make that whole move. I'm in the Bay Area right now, Northern California. Yeah, it's bright. I had to like kind of shield my eyes to kind of do it all. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm psyched, man. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, guys. I mean, it's definitely a
Thank you.
pleasure. And Bob, none of this stuff here, please, dude. If anything, I should be doing that to you for
No,
everything that you
no,
put
man.
together, like building the expo.
Thank you, man. Yeah, no, I was talking to Nate earlier and I said, a lot of people thank me for this expo because it's been a way to help get new people experience and, some connections in the industry. To kind of push their new product, their new site, whatever they've got forward. And I said to Nate, I said, Howard was that guy for me years ago when I got started. And him and I were in the Huddle auction or Huddle drafts together and FanX and some of those things. And Howard was the guy who was like, hey, come on my podcast, come on, so he's always been such a blessing to me and such a person. And I love paying it forward to these folks. And Howard still comes in and continues to pay it forward to the new folks as well. And Howard, we appreciate everything you do for us coming into town and being a part of King's Classic and the Expo and everything else. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Is that it? Are we done? Just thanking each other
Oh
for
yeah,
being
yeah.
each other, right?
All sorts of handshaking here, but yeah, for those people listening, this show does go on every other Tuesday, usually at 7 p.m. We made a little exception for Howard here because of the time differences. He has
In Sirius
work
XM.
at Sirius XM. It's we're great to have you here. We've got in the chat here Jamie Frazier. Good evening, gentlemen. But let's kick this off with the very first question. And you know, so I know you, Howard. My first time meeting you was during the Football Guys icebreaker, the very first one. We met at the second to last table playing poker, and I had a mountain of chips, and here you are coming over to sit at my table, also with the mountain of chips. And I think we passed back and forth like half of our chips over a couple hands until finally we both went all in. I don't even remember my hand from that, but I remember just looking at you going, I don't know if he's got it. I don't know. And you had it. And I think I was out on the last card, and that took me out. But it was such an enjoyable experience. It was a true icebreaker of like getting to meet people. And I will be honest, and I say this so many times, like I don't know the names in fantasy football. Like I don't listen to Sirius XM, shoot me, whatever. And so like I'm not familiar often with, some of the names. And so you sitting there, like you were just a guy that was really friendly and really, really nice. And that was my experience. And then I left that table and someone's like, oh, that was Howard Bender. He's on Sirius XM Fantasy Alarm. And I was like, oh, I was supposed to like really know this,
That guy.
you know? And, and ever since then, like, it's just every time I see you at the expo, very friendly. Even when you're on air, I've seen you like, um, recording from a corner with the Sirius XM stuff, and I'll pass by, you'll wave at me, I'll wave back. Like so friendly. But getting to the question is the icebreaker. How, you've been doing that for, is it been every year? And how do you enjoy it? Like,
I
have
mean,
you won yet?
I love. No, I haven't won yet. No, there are some sharp guys in there. There's some real sharp poker players. In there. I don't even remember who knocked me out.
Ronnie Evans won one year, right?
Ronnie Evans won one year. I'm trying to remember the guy who knocked me out last year. He was in the King's Classic with me as well. I'm
Mm.
blanking on the name, but I mean, listen, I love it. I mean, because the poker stuff is fun, right? I mean, that's just that's where we're supposed to be there. Now, yes, there are people who are going to take it very seriously, and
Mhm.
listen, I am a classically trained actor, Nathan. Classically trained. Boom.
Yeah.
You can't read me. You probably could, but whatever. I'm just saying. But I love the event because you're sitting around with people, you're joking around with people, you're just, you're kind of talking, you're just kind of, it's an icebreaker, it's a meet and greet because you're
Mhm.
sitting there at the table with each other for, an extended period of time. And yes, there's a competitive environment there, but you know what? So is fantasy football. That's a competitive environment as well. So yeah, I love it, man. And I want to shout out Drew Davenport.
Right.
Um, and the football guys crew for setting that whole thing up and running it each year. I love it. I mean, Drew is an amazing guy. I absolutely adore him. So yeah, I just think it's a good like way to integrate everybody together as opposed to like being in a loud bar or
Mhm.
Right.
moving around and stuff. Like you're locked into that table with these people.
Yeah, and it will be back again this year. Again, like you said, with the thanks going out to football guys and Drew Davenport and everybody there, Joe Bryant. We can't wait. We already tickets are on sale for that now. So if you haven't got those, when you're buying your expo tickets, just go ahead and buy the Icebreaker Poker Tournament Friday noon to 4, 1 to 4. I forget.
Noon. Noon to 4.
Noon to 4. So definitely check that out. You get to play poker. It's Howard Bender. Does it get any better than that? I don't think so.
Oh, probably.
Probably. Yeah.
Well, just don't get knocked out by Howard Bender.
Yeah. As long as you don't get knocked out by Howard Bender, then you won't like him very much.
That's what
But
you
no.
should do. That's what they should do. They should put a bounty on like a bunch of players. Like from anybody who showed up at the final table last year, if you knock those guys out, you get an extra bounty. Extra
There you go.
football guys. I need a new black-eyed Joe hat. Like, where's
There.
my new football guy's hat for crying out loud?
Everybody needs that. Right?
Damn you, Joey Wright.
Yeah. Come on, Joey. Where you at?
Jamie says, change the poker chips to circus peanuts, and Howard will be the serious competition.
Oh, he knows you.
I love the circus peanuts. I think it's a highly underrated candy. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
I'm with you on that. I like circus peanuts. Those are good.
I haven't had them so long. I forget what they taste like.
They taste like chalk.
Oh,
They
okay.
taste like
Wow.
sweet
Then you have
chalk.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
Just
orangey
sugar.
colored.
Yeah.
It's plain sugar.
All right. So for anyone listening to us talk about the icebreaker, go to thefantasyfootballexpo.com, get your ticket. I think to play poker is $50. There are 50 seats, or maybe I got something switched around there. Maybe,
Well, no, it's definitely $50. It might be 60 seats.
yeah, 60 seats I think
Something like that.
is accurate. But you can also choose not to play, and that is available for everyone to just come and hang out
Yeah.
and get to meet everyone. It's the first event of the weekend. But getting back to Mr. Bender here is, walk us through your favorite part of the experience of the expo. Like, what do you look forward to the most?
Oh, you know what? In all honesty, man, I really look forward to just hanging out with everybody. This is, when you go to like an FSGA conference, I mean, it's all about, meeting everybody else in the industry and everybody's trying to make deals and, say hi. And yeah, there's the fun, FSGA draft and stuff like that. But that's the business conference. For lack of a better way to put it, my wife calls it Fantasy Football Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's,
Fair.
and I mean, what I love is like, because I talk to, I love being able to meet a lot of the content people in person because everybody works so remotely. It's like Coop lives in, Andrew Cooper for everybody.
Right.
Andrew Cooper lives in Boston. John Impemba lives in in the Boston area also. So to be able to get a chance to, kind of connect with those guys, in person is a ton of fun. But what I love is I love the listeners and the people. Like I've man, my like got so many like private chats going on in the Fantasy Alarm Discord from people who I met at the expo, and it's like
Cool.
that's because let's face facts, guys. Why am I here? Like what? Yeah, I'm here for the listeners. I'm here
Right.
for the
The fans.
subscribers.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm here to be plucky comedy while giving out good, sane, solid fantasy advice. But I'm
Right.
not doing this. Yes, I do some of it for me, but I'm on the radio or I'm on the front pages of Fantasy Alarm for people out there. So if you're not connecting with your audience, then what are you doing? Like that to me is more important. Like, and I've said it before, like I will always put like a subscriber's fantasy championship ahead of my fantasy championship. It means
Absolutely.
more to me to help somebody win a fantasy championship than for me to win my own. I've won a bunch. It's been great. It's been a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Right.
But I do it for, I don't want to say like I'm a man of the people, but I would rather sit and hang out and talk with like, a ton of people who are like in Canton for the expo to be able to interact with, me and everybody else. That's why I loved your idea that for this year for that meet and greet of like,
Mhm. Right.
buy a meet and greet pass and come hang out with like me and Bob Harris and Jeff Mans and JJ Zacharias and like all
Mark
all
Screen.
your it would make me feel a little like, kind of inferior because that JJ is going to have like the big crew around him and I'm going to be like, sitting in the corner there.
It's a tough life, but
I know
somebody has
football too.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Jorge Edwards in the chat calling you
one
the
of our
people's
OGs.
analyst. Yeah. Jorge's been around since the first one.
2019. Yeah, he was at the first one. Yeah.
When was the first expo for you, Howard?
I think it was the second expo.
Okay.
I didn't go to the first expo. I wasn't able to do that, but I went to the very next one there, and then the one after that, and then I think I had to miss last year's because my wife and I were
You're
moving.
moving. Yeah.
I actually, now that I have like that firm expo date this time around here for me, because I'm also going to be moving again, but we'll probably time it a little bit better and get my ass to Canton before I venture north into Alaska.
Into the hang out with the penguins. Howard, talk about your first time there. I know you did. You've been doing some Kings Classics, but your first time at the event, doing all of that, taking all of that in. What were your expectations, and what did you kind of feel? Did you feel like we had something at that point, or did we have room for improvement?
Well, there's always room for improvement.
Right.
I've said about this because I've been around music festivals my entire life, right? Oh, you know what? See, look at that. I did what you're not supposed to do, right? I wore the shirt to the concert.
There you go.
There it is.
There it is.
Here's my
There we
blue
go.
shirt right there for you. So the one thing that I've always said about every single music festival that I've been to, like, it's a progression. And the people who are running the festivals learn something new every single year. They figure out, okay, I want to add this amenity. I want to do this now. All right, this is what people are saying interests them the most. And so every year it just gets better and better. And I think that's one of the most important things. And I'll tell you, from the first time that I was at the expo, which was an absolute blast, and I had no idea what to expect. Right, like you had in the the downstairs, you had all of the different booths and everything that was going on there, and then the next year, all of a sudden, it was like in the field house, and there was like craziness over there, and here's freaking Des Bryant, like sitting next to me and like having a conversation. Like, I mean, I know he's not everybody's favorite person right now because he's a little bit of a misogynist, but nevertheless, it's still Des frickin' Bryant, right? I mean, he's there. So it's the progression year to year. And I'm sure that, this year, Bob, you probably have, like I said, the meet and greet is one thing
Right.
that, you
Right.
were, pulling in the feedback for. So I know that there's every time I go, it's going to get better and better. That first year, of doing it and like being down in the basement of the DoubleTree, it was a little warm down there, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
It
I was
was.
like, okay, but it was sick to kind of go through and meet so many different new people and content creators. I spent that whole first time though, like to me, it was just like fan, 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 fan. Like I just wanted to hang out with as many different people as I
Mm-hmm.
possibly could. Like I will tell the story because I mean, this guy is, he's a fantastic guy. His name is Aaron. He was there with his dad, and I mean, he was like he was like staring at me. I'm like having conversations with people and he's just staring at me, but he's like afar. And I'm like,
Right.
let me go over there and just introduce myself. I was like, hey, what's going on? And he was genuinely nervous to meet me. And I love him for that. Right.
Yeah.
Because now I talk to Aaron on a regular basis via social media and stuff like that. And here's a
Mm-hmm.
dude that was, doing sports broadcasting in a TV station in Nebraska 3 years after meeting him at the expo. Like, so I've been
Cool.
like tracking his career and
Nice.
everything that he's doing. And it was like that moment of like, dude, just, I am a regular person.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing grandiose about me. You're not meeting Brad Pitt, people. Right? You're not. I am a sarcastic New Yorker who loves fantasy sports, and I'm like a fun loving guy. I'm a
Right. Right.
fish head. I treat my glaucoma on the regular, and I enjoy that aspect of my life. I mean, listen, I'm just a regular dude, and so I was kind of taken aback by that aspect in the first expo.
Mm-hmm.
So that for when I came back the next year, I made it a point that like when we were doing all the all the field events and everything like that, well, they were playing in the flag football game, right? Like Coop and Ronis and those guys. I was just kind of circulating. Just I want to meet as many people as I possibly can because, I just think it's cool to connect with so many different people. That's one of the things I've loved about fantasy sports. Is I've connected with so many people who I probably never in a million years connect with in the first place.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
one of the
Definitely.
things that we got a lot of feedback on too, is just people coming in like they have a little social anxiety and they're like, I made it to the expo, and then just feeling like, how do I go up and talk to, people that I kind of came to see? And we took that feedback. That's why we came up with the meet and greet
Mm-hmm.
and those kind of things. But for you specifically, if somebody was, say, wanting to meet Howard Bender, they're at the expo and they spot you, what would be your suggestion of how would they approach you, and is there like a topic that you would want them to ask to break the ice? Like, what would be your advice to them to come up and meet you?
Walk right up to me and introduce yourself to me. Hi,
Yeah.
Howard. I'm so and so. You know, great to meet you. I listen to you on the show all the time. Big
Right.
fan. Whatever you want to say. I mean, it doesn't like I don't. There's no particular topic. I'll literally talk about anything and everything. You want to talk
Right.
about what you just had for lunch? You want to talk about the fact that I've got like a huge stomach ache or something? I don't care. Like, just come over and introduce yourself to me. Like,
Right.
if you wanna have a conversation, and listen. For me, I try to have relatively meaningful conversations. I'm not a small talk kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I'm going to want to get to know who you are. So at least just be prepared for that, I guess.
Yeah.
That, I'm going to, yes, you can ask me anything that you want about me. Favorite song, favorite movie, whatever. Why do I,
Talk about your
love
dogs.
glazed donuts so much? Yeah, all that stuff, right? I mean, talk to me about my dogs. It does, like, whatever it is, like, that's just, again, because it's just about a matter of like connecting. And I'm sure we'll always find some sort of common ground that will be like, yeah, I love that too. And we'll probably all just get along. I'm a very
Yeah.
easygoing person to get along with, I think.
Yeah, and you definitely are. I think just people when you are out and about, there's a lot of people around you because everybody loves to talk to you, and people who don't feel pressure because they know you and they know how you are. But most all the guys are like that, and that's what we've always tried to tell new people. It's like, you can talk to any of these guys. They're all super nice. If you don't know who, what a big deal Howard is or Bob is or JJ is or whoever, you will never know that they're one of the top experts in the country because they're so nice and so friendly. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Well, why don't they have an ego? Well, we don't. Nobody does. And that's what's great about the industry.
You will get lost in Jeff Radcliffe's eyes. Not
That's
gonna.
fine. Yeah,
Like,
that
I mean,
happens.
Jeff
Yeah.
Radcliffe's eyes. I mean, you just stare him right in the
Yeah,
eye, and you're
right.
just like.
Every time you say that to Jeff, he just rolls his eyes too. It's so funny.
Right?
I
I say that to him so that he does roll his eyes, because even the whites of his eyes are adorable. Adorable.
It's true. Everybody's now searching for Jeff Radcliffe online. That's good stuff.
Oh, absolutely. So we've got some good conversation going on in the chat. We've got Angie has popped in, Angie Hatfield.
Hi, Angie.
We
Hi,
got
Angie.
Robert Thomas here.
Rob Thomas, the singer?
Yeah, looks like it.
From Matchbox 20.
Nice.
Bayou Bengal, he's in the chat there.
Who dey?
And we got Joel. He's there.
Yeah,
So
Joel.
yeah, if anyone's
I
got
love
any
his-
questions,
He's got one of the best logos with his the two guys from the Muppet Show.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and then here with Jerry Bagshaw. I was going to say Bradshaw, but I will say, Howard, you were the first fantasy football guy I listened to every day on Sirius XM. There you go. You got a fan right there.
Thank you, Jerry. I'm surprised that you're still listening then.
Hey, Howard, talk about that one year you came in and the guy literally heard you on the air, or you knew him, and he was from Texas, and he just like 2 days before decided just to drive in so he could see you because he knew you were going. What was his name? Do you remember him?
Of course I do. That's Rich McEwen.
Gotcha.
Yeah, great dude. Drives truck for a living.
Oh, that's
based
right.
down in Texas. And yeah, he said that he had some free time around the expo. We had just done like a whole special on the show talking about bobbleheads.
Mm.
And he called up the show and he said that, you know what? Look at that.
Oh man, he's gonna pull it out.
Here we go.
He said that he had an Eric Nadal, who's a broadcaster for the Rangers, bobblehead doll. And he wanted to give that to me, but he wanted to trade it for a fantasy alarm shirt.
Oh, all right.
So I said, I can do that. I said, I'll give you the shirt off my back. It doesn't bother me. We didn't give him the one off of my back because it's obviously it was sweaty. Sure. It's Canton in August, for crying out loud. Right. But I brought an extra fantasy alarm T-shirt for him, and we swapped it out. And yeah, Rich is he's done some listener leagues with me. He's done a couple of he did some of the Beat Howard Bender stuff with me. Great dude. And yeah, he like drove up, like got to the expo, showed up, and I hung out with him a bunch at that time. Such a great dude.
Like you should be the choice for the Howard Bender representative fan for the Fans Classic, maybe, huh?
Well, don't put that. All right, see. All right, we're gonna have.
This is the bobblehead I have.
There you go.
Look at that,
Mark Twain with it.
Mark Twain in a hockey uniform. I love that.
Yeah. I don't know. Somehow picked it up, but that's my bobblehead. I felt like sharing.
So listen, Lung. This is where we are going to have words here. What is this whole fan vote thing, and why are you putting the onus on me to
pick not just you, man?
I know, but you're doing this. You're asking me though, and you're asking of several other analysts here to pick their favorite fan.
I know that's tough.
In order to rep at the expo, man. That's tough.
But let's talk about it. We got it out in the open. So fans of Howard out there, we are putting on the first ever Fans Classic. And there are two types of drafts this year. One is a qualifier draft that will allow you to come back in 2026 if you place in the top 12, and you will draft live at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in the Fans Classic of just the top 12 or 14 people, all represented. They're all representing their favorite analyst. But for this year, we need to have a first year. So we decided that we would allow every one of the top guys, Howard, Bob, Marcus, JJ, all of them will pick their favorite fan to represent them to draft live at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in the room with all of us drafting. And the winner then will get to come back and sit side by side with them at the actual Kings Classic in 2026. There will be all kinds of other prizes too. And so that's what it is. It's the Fan Classic, because when we asked for feedback, people said, how do fans get to be in the Kings Classic? And I'm like, oh, we don't really have that. So I said, well, let's create a Fans Classic. So if you sign up for the Fans Classic, which you can do on the site, you get a free custom t-shirt. It's you only get it if you enter the thing. You'll get all kinds of other prizes down the road. But Howard and Bob and Marcus and JJ and Jeff Mans and everybody we can get to do it have to pick one person to come represent them. And you'll get a free weekend pass to the expo. You just have to pay your travel and everything to get it there. But you get to draft in the Pro Football Hall of Fame with all of us. So there you go. Send bribes, send pictures, send whatever you want.
And
Howard will have that tough task to decide.
Yeah, and then there's the grand prize. If you do win the Fans Classic, not only do you sit side by side with your ultimate analyst fan, that you're a fan of, but you get an all expense paid.
So airfare, hotel, everything.
Canton. Yeah.
Oh,
so we'll cover your hotel and your
paid trip to Canton. Where's mine?
Well, if you play the Fans Classic and you win,
no, you're not allowed.
Well, then you know what? I'm my biggest fan.
There you go.
And I'm my favorite fan.
There you go. Well, then you have to be in the Fans Classic. You can't be in the real Kings Classic.
What are you talking about? I'm a king, though. Come on.
So anyway, folks, if you're a fan, get here. That's like asking Howard to pick his favorite fur baby. That is tough. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. They understand. The public knows.
It's tough. I'm not going to say it isn't easy. So think about it. You got till June 1st.
Yep.
So.
And for everyone out there listening that wants to be part of this, go to thefantasyfootballexpo.com, click in to purchase, to sign up for the Fans Classic, or get yourself one of the fan experience packages, which includes a entry into the Fans Classic. Mm-hmm. And if you're an ultimate fan, you get to be part of the meet and greet. But then there's a gold package and a silver package, and those just have bundles of some of the great things that you can do in Canton. Like we're going to be providing a guided tour of the Hall of Fame. That's going to be a good time. Bob, talk about that a little bit. Like
so the Pro Football Hall of Fame is offered guided tours for these special people that buy these tickets. And so you get 90 minutes led around by one of the the staff there that do guided tours every day. They, work and breathe the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So not only do you get to see the Hall of Fame, but now you get people to kind of guide you and answer questions and talk about some of the highlights of stuff on the walls and, some of the unique things that they have there. And then when you get done, you can still walk around and do whatever you want, but it's a 90-minute guided tour, and it is part of all of the experience packages. So definitely check that out. I have not got to do that. I might just sign up just to go.
Sounds like a fun time. Yeah.
I'm going to boycott if they don't have more Jets paraphernalia in the gift shop this year.
Well, they probably have Aaron Rodgers shoes or something, don't they?
You shut your mouth.
Sorry.
We got Jorge Edwards already printing my Howard Bender's number one fan t-shirt.
And Jorge's already into it. Jorge, you can't do it. Hey, Jorge, get one for your kid. Get like a little onesie that says Howard's #1 fan, and then
Well,
he can.
Right?
Yeah, there you go.
Papa Edwards, right? I'll just sit
That's
there,
right.
I'll hang out, put your kid in my arm, we'll draft
Yeah.
together, we'll make fun of you. It'll be a good time. Let
well,
me tell you some stories about your dad, kid. Let me tell you.
we touched on it a little bit briefly earlier, but the expo now has merch and a merch store. Hey, there's nothing saying we can't do onesies with Howard's #1 fan
I
on them and
know.
sell those. And
I don't
put
think
'em
it'll
out
fit
there.
me though, but thanks for
Probably
saying.
not you, but
I would love to see Jorge Edwards in a onesie that says Howard's #1 fan. I would love that.
That would be fantastic.
Yes, it would.
oh man. Yeah, so go to the fantasyfootballexpo.com and get some expo merch. Be able to wear the Bonnaroo or Exponaru. I can never pronounce it. And
It
we're
looks
getting
good.
flashed. There it is. Yep, there's those shirts. They're festival shirts. So there's the Exponaru, there's the Rock Fest, and then we've
Country
got a
Fest.
Country Fest. Yeah, so go check those out. So one of the things that is a big topic for people is how do they get to the expo, like actually traveling to. Howard, do you have tips? Like, what do you do? How do you get in? Do you fly into Cleveland and drive down? Do you try and get into Akron, Canton?
I try to fly in directly. It just it makes it a little easier, right? Like Cleveland's like an hour and a half away or something like that. Hour away. Still a long Uber,
Yeah.
right? Or if you meet somebody in Cleveland, then you drive in together. You got to coordinate that. I try to do that, but I will say this: if you are flying into the Canton airport, you've got to call ahead and make some sort of a pickup arrangement because there ain't no taxi cabs just going in and out right over there
Right.
in Canton.
But the good news is that some of the hotels are getting back to having, the shuttles. I know Embassy Suites has it. But the other cool thing is too, if you go on our Discord, we have a transportation section. So if you tell people, hey, I'm flying into this, Cleveland, Akron, Canton at this time, usually there's a lot of people coming on those flights as well. And you can either, share a ride or whatever. There is some Uber in Canton. We've been trying to hopefully tell people, like, Hall of Fame weekend, of course, is packed. We have lots of Ubers the weekend before. The weekend after, we're trying to kind of tell them, like, hey, stick around for another week. We got lots of people.
Right, absolutely. Although now I know I can just post in your Discord and be like, who wants to pick me up at the airport?
Yeah, do it.
Who wants to pick me up at the airport? We'll drive. I'll fly into Cleveland. We'll drive for an hour together. You can hit my.
That's fine.
You can pick my brain about anything. Then
Yeah,
stuck in a car with you.
Yeah. See, it's an opportunity right there. You could cover your flight in by just selling tickets to who's driving with
Howard Bender.
Right. Who wants to pick me up? Our newest game show on today's episode of Who Wants to Pick Me Up?
Well, whoever your #1 fan is should obviously love to come and pick you up at the airport because you chose them to be your fan.
Well, that #1 fan's probably paying my way to the expo.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah, maybe.
A flight to go from Juneau, Alaska to Canton, Ohio, that's going to be a pretty penny there, Long. Pretty penny.
Well, United has direct flights from Chicago to Canton. So if you can just get from Juneau to Chicago, and then you can take it in from there.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, but
there you go. The outdoor call radio with Outdoors Dan says, would love to go and see Howard. Bender is as good as Skyline Chili.
Oh, come on. I'm better than Skyline Chili. Outdoors Dan. I love Outdoors Dan. I'll tell you what, if you're a hunter or a fisherman, right, or a fisherwoman or a huntress, right, the Outdoors Dan outdoor call radio app is like phenomenal. Dan is amazing to talk to. He also happens to be psychotic about fantasy football, which is always great.
All right.
He's already built his big board, his big whiteboard for next year's draft.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. He's locked in.
Where does he live?
He's based in Iowa.
Oh, okay. So he's not that far away.
He's not that far at all.
There you go. All right, Outdoor Dan. We'll see you at the expo, bro. Got to
I'm
be there,
wearing
buddy.
my alpaca socks here. Come on.
Come on.
Oh man, Bob, what other questions we got for Howard here? What's
So
another
Howard, talk about the expo itself. At the Dome, like you said, we outgrew everything in town. So thank goodness they built this 100,000 square foot football field dome, that we have the actual expo in there on Sunday. We have 3 stages again this year. We kind of moved sports betting back to Sunday. So we'll have a sports betting stage, main stage, and of course our breakout stage. Howard, you'll be on stage for a number of the things, the pre-games and that kind of stuff. But just talk about all of the different topics and great things that happen at the expo itself. There's 50 trade show booths with all the vendors, all the top sites are there with a booth to meet and greet as well. Talk about that Sunday event and what it means for the fans that are coming and what they can learn from all of this amazing knowledge that's floating around that day.
Well, I mean, that's the great part, right? I remember, we did that first panel discussion where it was just kind of like a meet and greet, and there were some draft strategy questions, but it was more of like an open forum of just
Right.
talk about whatever you want. That's one of the things that I love so much about the way the setup was, is that the stage was on the side, and then you had all of the booths in this, like, almost like a maze type thing,
Right.
but it was sectioned off so that if you could go and sit and enjoy the panel and watch, and ask your questions and learn whatever it was that you want to learn. And then you could go in and jump in through the maze and go and check out all the vendors. Like, to have it all under that one fell swoop there was just, it was definitely much more ideal setup to have. Listen, man, I was sitting out at the Sirius XM table a bunch. I was doing some shows from there, but like every time I could like go out and do the radio show, come back in, check out what's going on over at the panel discussion over here. Oh, okay, great, that's awesome, and then go in through the maze and just go and hit all of the booths. Having it all in one spot like that, super convenient. But again, it's just everything that was there, because even on the parts where it was like all of that interior field, you still had like people were like just kind of screwing around and just there were people tossing footballs back and forth. There were people just there was like a weird race going on at one point, right? I was like, come on, man, you're all over 50 and overweight, so somebody's gonna pull a hammy. This is
So
not
many
good for
people
you.
want us to continue constantly every year. Bob, we need to have a combine. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
No.
No. There are like 30 people that could do anything related to a combine, and we're not doing any of them.
No.
You know.
But, I mean, again, it's just to me, it was just all around good time. And it's like, I mean, it's like a Comic-Con. You meet and greet some of the people that you never thought that you'd meet, or you listen to them on a show all the time, or whatever it is. You get that kind of exposure. You're hanging out with like different people. One of the things that I was talking about, that was going on, somebody was doing like a flash draft right there, and it was like boom, they had 12 people that like gathered around a booth, and then the next thing you know, it was like, okay, you got a 30-second clock, and we're gonna pick, and like
Cool.
so just spontaneous stuff like that pops up. And when you've got everybody who's so into fantasy football, like, you don't even have to like meet the content creators or anything like that. You're interacting with other fans and listeners and subscribers that you guys end up forging friendships, with those people. And the next thing you know, guess what? You don't have, when your uncle's brother's cousin's nephew craps out of your fantasy league at the last minute, all of a sudden, guess what? Oh, you know what? I know this dude from the expo. Let's get him in.
Yeah. And also just the number of topics. I mean, I always say, if you walk out of Sunday and you didn't learn something new from somebody, you're doing it wrong. You're not listening.
Yeah.
I go there. I mean, when I do the emceeing of the pregame, which Howard had talked about, is basically I call it the Mount Rushmore of fantasy football. We put all the top names, so Howard, Bob Harris, Jeff Radcliffe, JJ Zacharias, and gosh, I remember Andy Behrens, Dave Richards, whoever on stage, and I'm interviewing them and kind of just starting the questionnaires and then turn it over to the audience. I'm just sitting there going in my head going, oh, I didn't know that. That's really interesting. And so I'm in my head, going, wow, I got to change my draft strategy for that guy because I didn't know that. And so watching all of those, being there live, being able to ask the questions, and then even when they come off stage, going over and having a chat with one of those guys or following them to their booth to learn more. But there's Dynasty, there's sports betting, DFS, prop bets. There is something for everybody. So, and if you miss it, good. Again, 3 stages at the same time. I get it. You can't clone yourself and be at 3 spaces at the same time. But the cool thing is, and we do this every year, is we videotape every one of those panels and then upload them and put them on our YouTube channel after the event's over later that week. And you can watch them all. So even if you're like, hey, I can't make it, I got wife and kids, okay, I get it. It's okay. Watch them online. At least you'll then get that educational part. Now, granted, we still want you to come because you're missing out on the best part of it, which is the interaction, the camaraderie and that. But you can at least, for free, get that knowledge base that is being shared in those panels. So, like you said, that's the one thing I always wanted to be sure that we did, because I didn't want somebody to go, oh, I can't go to Howard's panel and JJ's panel at the same time because they're at the same time, and it's like, I can't, how do I pick? I can't pick. I want to hear them both. You don't have to worry about that. You can go watch one live, catch the other one on YouTube then later that week. So talk about that, Howard. You've been part of those and how much that helps the fans that are coming.
Well, it definitely helps, because you're also, I mean, when you look at the timing of the whole thing, right? You're doing it in August, right? And all of a sudden ADP is starting to normalize a little bit, or it's starting to shift a little bit. That was the great thing about it, was with the panel discussions that I was on. It's great to sit there and talk about things like ADP and, using it as a guideline and not the gospel, and then turning around an hour later and talking like auction draft strategy.
Right.
And how, how I'm budgeting my dollars, or different tips, for if you've never been in an auction before, like different, tips, like, how you're bidding, what your bidding cadence is, are you giving out tells? It's almost like when you're in an auction draft, it's like being at the poker table.
Yeah.
Right. You can't reveal too much. Can't sit there and like show somebody just how much you want a player, because they'll bid them up on you. So, there's like different tips and little nuances and stuff like that for draft strategy and stuff like that. Because we'll all talk about players. This is my breakout player. This is a guy who I think, works great in this new system on this team.
Right.
We'll be able to, we do those breakdowns for you there, but to like really understand the nuances of like draft strategy and, how you're looking at, because how many times do I sit there and say to somebody on the air who calls up and they say, who do I take with the, the 12th pick, or what, I want to go running back, wide receiver. Is that smart? And I always say, well, you got to be fluid in your draft. That's the beauty of it, is like, because you were, one of the things, didn't we do like a mock draft?
We always do an expert mock draft. Yeah.
Oh, I think I got in trouble. Yeah, it was like me and stepmom Lauren and Nate Markham got in trouble. We were like the kids who, like, at the Thanksgiving table when you're like, well, you kids knock it off right now. And we're like laughing. We can't stop laughing.
That's usually more Lauren's fault.
We can blame stepmom Lauren. Absolutely. 100%. But I mean, stuff like that. So as we're like sitting there, I loved that panel because we were talking through our pick. And each one of us was talking through our picks, and we were marking it down so that we could see what the board was, and then say, okay, see how I did this? I went with the wide receiver because that was the value that was sitting there on the board. Sure. And then I went to the running back because I thought it was going to thin out by the time I got, like, to be able to share in all of that,
huge. So
the
huge.
nuances of
Yeah.
of successful drafting. I think that's huge for a lot of people.
Yeah. And I know people have said to me, I know one of the things that everybody brings up is you need to have a live Kings Classic draft where you talk through every pick as you're going. And I'm like, that's a great idea, but we need 6 hours to do that.
Yeah.
Not sure we
Yeah,
can.
that would
No,
be.
see, that's the thing, is that I don't think you do. I think that if everybody's mic'd up,
Yeah.
right, that you have your minute and a half to 2 minutes to make your pick, and you're talking through the whole thing. All right, I'm
Mhm.
looking through here. I'm looking through this list. I know that I wanted a running back. This dude sniped my guy, so I'm going to have to take that. Like, you can do your draft in that time. I don't think you need the 6 hours. You just have
Yeah.
to keep everybody mic'd up, and nobody can be afraid of, like,
Saying too much.
making a bad pick, or I'm saying something stupid or anything like that. You just have to say, this is the way a draft goes. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that.
I love the idea. I just don't know. We'd have to get basically it's Sirius XM's call because we'd have to get everybody mic'd up and
Well,
in
I
your
think what
room.
we talked about, Bob, is we were kicking around the idea after Canton, after the expo, to have some content, is to do quick shows like breaking down like everyone's picks, and just you and I, or you and
Yeah.
and
I mean, we could
bring
certainly
some guests on.
have somebody run a video camera and videotape the whole thing
Yeah.
as we're going, but then again, we'd have to have everybody mic'd up
Yeah.
it, but it's
I'm sure you
possible.
could buy, like, the little, you see it all the time, right?
Yeah.
The little mics that, like, guys
Yeah.
have, like,
Right.
they'll clip them to their hat or something like that. It
Right.
doesn't have to be like ornate. I think you could definitely do it. Get one of the sponsors to pay for the
There
equipment,
you
for
go.
crying out loud.
Yeah.
Huh? Come
Mm.
on,
Yeah.
sponsors. Pony up. Some.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Get
one of the things that I really like that you mentioned, Howard, was like this being the Comic Con of fantasy football, and I really think that's what we're growing into, in not just a funny way, but like truly. When you think of Comic Con, of like waves of people coming in, and getting to meet the people that you're fans of, and getting to experience this like truly one of a kind event in football country of Canton, Ohio. Uh, and so like we really focus on the fans, and this year has really been a refocus on their experience. And one of the feedback, and I just want to touch on the Saturday party and the changes that we've made there. So
Mhm.
Bob, talk about like how we're moving away from actually the stadium and going to the M Bar and jerseys, and what's involved there.
Yeah, so for anybody out there that's been to the expo, and you've been to especially the icebreaker at the M Bar, if you're familiar with that place, we're moving the Saturday night party to the M Bar, and then beside that is a place called Jersey's. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, it's because it's also the same bar restaurant that runs the Friday night party downtown at Centennial Plaza. So the owner of those places and I sat down and I said, "Hey, if I brought all 800,000 people to your place, can you handle it?" And he said, "Yeah, not a problem," because they actually host all the major Hall of Famer parties at their place by putting tents all around outside to allow people to be able to still be underneath if it's the weather's bad, whatever. But they go all out. They put down carpeting and chandeliers and all kinds of stuff. They're like, "Bob, I'll just leave that stuff up. You guys can use it for your parties the next week." Perfect. So
Win-win.
and the biggest reason we're moving, it's not that the stadium's not cool. It is, but the food and drink selections suck big time. I think last year they had two beers you could buy with either Miller Lite or Coors Light, no craft beers whatsoever. They did have a full bar if you were a Captain Morgan and Diet like I am. They had a couple seltzers, and then their food is your typical garbage, hamburgers, hot dogs, hot pretzels, nachos, and that's it. And there's
Stadium
just
food.
nothing there.
Minor
So
league
we just
stadium food.
decided we were going to move it, and and it's half the price. I mean, so you spend $10 for a Miller Lite, it's going to be $4 or $5 at Jersey's. and they have all the craft beers on tap. It's such a big selection. So yeah, we're basically going to make it into an indoor-outdoor party. Using both locations will easily handle the 800 to 1,000 people that'll be there.
Nice.
So there we go.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What was your take, Howard, on getting to party in the stadium? Because I always thought it was cool. It was a great experience. But, we're looking at, okay, we've got a lot of people coming back over and over again. And while it's cool the first time, it's okay the second time. By third or fourth, it's like I'm excited for this change. What are your thoughts on this? Are you like, rah rah, let's stay in the stadium, or do you
No, I
like
mean, I
this?
think a newer place. In all honesty, I thought the stadium was spread out a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I mean, like, and all of a sudden you had like a faction that was down on the field, and then a faction that was up in the concourse, and
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, we were hanging out on the stairs at one point. So, I thought it was too spread out. Like, I don't want to be like overcrowded,
Right.
but
Right.
for the same token, I don't want, because you don't get an opportunity to see and meet as many people as you really want to, right? You're
Right.
like, if I wasn't hanging out, if I wasn't hanging out at the picnic tables for a little while, I wouldn't have met Rod and Kim, like this couple from Minnesota that spent their anniversary at the expo, right? I mean, it was like awesome to see that. And
Yeah.
so, but if I wasn't at the picnic tables at that point, I don't know if I would have, seen them or interacted with
Right.
them, because it was spread out. So I do think, if you're consolidating the place a little bit, I definitely think that that's good. If you're giving people more craft beers, you're going to get drunker people. But for the same token, if you're getting better food, maybe we all have full bellies in our stomachs. You
Yeah.
did, Nathan, by the way, you did in your talk about Comic-Con for a second, also just gave me a really good idea for this whole favorite fan sort of a
Okay.
thing. And maybe I just run a costume contest. Whoever dresses
Oh,
up as the best Howard Bender costume. Can I get away with something
I
like
like
that?
I
that.
like
I
that.
like that.
A couple of Halloweens ago, my producer, Shan Blunt, who was at the expo
Mm-hmm.
over the last 2 years, for Halloween, she went as me.
Oh my
So
God.
I think maybe that's what I do.
Howard
Favorite
Bender
I
fan,
like
look-alike.
that.
best
I
Howard Bender
like it.
costume out there. I think I'm onto something. Thank you,
Yeah.
Nate.
Yeah, you're definitely onto
I
something.
like
And
that a
that's
lot.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yep.
So a little personal story. My wife and I are celebrating our 5-year anniversary this October. We're gonna do a party for it, and our theme is dress as your spouse. So in line with that, same wavelength. But I absolutely love that. I want to see. I hope that you share all of those on X and tag us so we can retweet them.
Look at these
Oh,
comments
absolutely.
that are floating in. I love these, right?
Angie's coming hard though.
Angie's ready for that. Gary Van Dyke is ready for that. Come on, people.
That's
I think
it.
that's how we're
I
gonna
like
find
it.
out.
I
Oh,
love it.
I
Nice.
call it. I call it. Nobody else can do this idea but me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, John Hanson, used to do his, they had to submit a video to, get on their ACI or whatever it was, fan and them drafting. So, yeah, I think this costume idea is fantastic. I love that.
See, and I'm better than Alice in Chains anyway.
That's right. Whatever.
Yeah, no, I like how this is shaping up. I really like, getting the buy-in, getting you guys really pumped to pick your ultimate fan, and then doing some crazy stuff. Like, I want to see somebody really go all out and that kind of go viral across the fantasy Twitter sphere.
I love Angie's last comment there. Put that up.
Yeah,
What'd you say?
we already know. At the very least, we're getting a Jorge and a onesie.
Oh, my wife's cooking. The smoke
Uh-oh.
detectors are going off here,
Nope,
guys.
dinner's ready.
Uh,
Let me mute that for a second.
Yeah.
but yeah,
That's how I
no.
know dinner's ready at my house when it goes off. I'm like, oh, dinner's ready. Come in.
There you go. But all right, well, we are winding down here. We're staying on for just the hour, so we're gonna wrap up here 9:30 Eastern. I don't know what that is on the West Coast. What is it, like 6:30 for you, Howard?
6:30, baby. 6:30. Dinner time.
Yeah,
As
there
I
we
say, we
go.
just heard it, right?
Yeah. So a couple things that I wanted to just make sure and touch on here for those listening. Obviously, get your ticket, get a fan experience ticket, but also I don't know if anyone saw the newsletter that went out. I was a little proud of that being able to be released. That's going to come out every 2 weeks on Fridays, and we're touching on expo tips, Canton attractions. We're gonna have some sort of like, maybe when Howard officially talks about his fan picking challenge, we'll add that into the top of the newsletter so people can go and get involved in that. So make sure that go on. The best place is go on our socials at the FF Expo, find the post for the newsletter, and then you can sign up right there. We'll get some a landing page up on the site soon. But Bob, what did you think of the newsletter? And
I loved it. I mean, ever since you came up with that idea and the layout, obviously you're good at what you do, and it was like, yep, this is perfect. And we're keep thinking of things. I sent Nate something yesterday. I get a email from Akron Canton Airport all the time. Right, here's what's going on. Here's what's happening, and they had a listing of all of the direct flights that cities that have direct flights in Akron Canton. So I sent it to him like that goes in our next newsletter because a lot of people don't realize like how Breeze and Allegiant, United, and some of those all have direct flights right into Akron Canton. Maybe a few bucks more, but the Uber itself would probably cover that because you're right there. You're 5 minutes from everything. So definitely check all that out. Love the newsletter. Like I said, we'll keep adding new things and just yeah, it's just going to be a good time. And, we'll put highlights of people like Howard, probably some of the clips from this videos in that. So you can see those if you missed it with a link back to the full show. So yeah, it's going to be great. So yeah, make sure you follow that, get that, share that with all your friends, send them over to them. Hey,
yeah.
check this out. Check out this newsletter. So,
And if you have questions or want to see specific things in the newsletter, hit the reply button. It will go and it'll alert us, and we can take that and either answer the question for you or include it in the next newsletter. But before we log off, we do have the last question here from the Outdoor Call Radio with Outdoors Dan. I got on a little late. Do you have hotel rooms blocked off? Is there an expo package available? Thanks. So first question there is probably the DoubleTree. Is it still
Yep,
available?
still have some openings at the DoubleTree. That's kind of the host hotel. So definitely check that out. We'll be putting up some new block rooms as well surrounding the area. So definitely check that out. And yes, there's still many of those fan experience packages available. So definitely check those out as well. So yeah, thank you, Outdoor Dan. Howard, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you, brother. Can't wait to see you again later this summer, whether it's FSGA in Chicago or at the Expo in August. Hopefully both. And for folks, yeah. And for folks, 2 weeks from now, we got Marcus Grant. 4 weeks from now, we have Dave Richards. So we're going to keep the big names rolling through the live Expo every Tuesday at 7. Except, of course, tonight because Howard has, a bigger deal to do on SiriusXM. But Howard, thank you again for being a part of this. We love you, brother.
It's a set show. It's from 6 to 8 every single Monday through Friday. I can't change it.
I know you can. I said it's more important.
We should have done this for like the whole second hour of the show.
There you go. Well, we'll do that next month.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Talk about your new contest for getting your
right. I want to see the
Howard
beards
Bender
out
costumes.
there. I want to see the hats. I want to see the sweatshirts. Everything. There you go.
Oh, there it is. Oh,
there it is. His 8 mile look.
8 mile look.
Yeah.
Well, guys, seriously, thank you so much for the invite, man. Always a great time to hang with you both, and I appreciate everything that you guys not only are putting together here at the expo, but for really making it a great experience for for the content people out there. Because I mean,
Mhm.
that's my big hang up at FSGA is they don't make it content friendly. You
Yeah.
guys make it all content friendly, and I appreciate that very much.
Thank you, buddy.
Yep,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. Well, as we wrap this up, just make sure that you go and get your ticket. Get it early. We can't stress enough. Like the prices will go up as we get closer to the event. So get the early price as soon as you can. Grab a fan experience package, and just as a note, if you are trying to get into the DoubleTree, you do have to purchase a ticket to then get the proper link. So if you
Mhm.
go directly, it's blocked off so that
It's
you won't
blocked
be
off.
able to.
They'll make it sound like it's closed off, that
Yeah,
there's no more rooms left, but there is. You just have to use our link after you buy the ticket. So
yeah. You use that link, you get in, you get everything all set. So, and with that, make sure you're following at the FF Expo on all social medias. Follow Bob. He's got plenty of stuff coming out between the Consistency magazine and we've got all of the shows on the Expo YouTube with the
mhm.
exhibitors and check us back in 2 weeks. We will be here. Thanks everyone, and we'll talk to you later.